Okay, now is the time where I refute the metaphysics of Jan Cox. Not because I'm right and he's wrong, but because, rather, I know for a fact that all of his major claims that he would defend are already, in a sense, a priori deconstructed. So if you raise with Jan any counter argument rather, I mean, not rather, but counter argument contra whatever he is expounding, and he will simply say, oh, good, then you've understood. Then you've understood the proposition. The point is that if you've understood enough to counter argue, you have in a sense, in some, let's say, pre-Husserlian sense, Brentano, Bolzano, who's the third B? For all the hoopla about three H's, it's the Bolzano, Brentano, and the other. In order to have the capacity for analysis that a Jan Cox had, one cannot hold wacky views. The views have to be straight down the middle, moderated and regulated from every direction. So it's like omnidirectionally inward regulation, self-regulation. What was Jan's metaphysics worth? Well, Jan, from what I can tell, was some sort of materialist, empiricist. Because anything like literal Platonism, he would tend to avoid, because he loved demolishing ideologies, and it was much deeper, of course, demolishing what? The structural basis of ideology. It's closer to that. The living structural, the everyday living structural basis of ideology. Not unconsciousness, Dr. Bass. Not unconsciousness. Because Jan rigorously rejected Freud out of hand. I don't think he even read Freud. He probably understood very little of it. And Worth Baldwin will surely testify the subject of Freud around the Atlanta group has always been a sore subject. And it tends to be a bit repressed, a bit underestimated. Don't you think, Worth? Or am I calling you World now? Oh, it's amazing what kind of generative capacity simple slips of the tongue have. Right, Dr. Anders? I mean Prager, sorry, Prager. Dr. Prager. Dr. Jeffrey Prager, you know, I saw recently, if you see the video, sorry, there's hair on my hand. The video where I have like the little thumbnail saved and it says Dr. Jameson Webster, $350 an hour. It's 2025, Dr. Jeffrey Prager, right? And I assume you're still in Beverly Hills and your rent has gone up how much ever rent goes up in Beverly Hills. And I remember after the 3 consultations that you had with me, you even had me doing a reading list. I read several books that you assigned. Well, they weren't assigned, but of course, when they're not assigned, they're still assigned, right? So yeah, I read your books, Dr. Prager. And then you said 350 a session, and I said, well, hold on a second. That's a bit steep. I mean, that was 2010. I wound up going with Jim Buse. Maybe he's still alive. Jim Buse is he's a pure dreams guy. Pure dream analysis. Freud, dreams, end of story. So I think it was probably best that I went with Buse and I did not actually go with Anders or Jeffrey Prager, because who knows what would have happened if I had put myself in your, I don't know what the word would be. I don't want to say care, because psychoanalysts don't actually care for other people. I mean, not in like the medical sense. That's about to change, of course. Psychoanalysis is full on MD, period. It's medical science, people. Psychoanalysis is medical science. The degree is MD, just the same, no more, no less than psychiatry. Probably, actually, more. Reason being, psychiatry, you can be a doctor and simply be a pharmaceutical rep, more or less. You don't have to be a scientist to prescribe psych meds. But in order to get the diagnosis, to get you to the prescription, that requires a doctor of science, a doctor of medical science. It's pure mathematical theoretical work. If psychoanalysis is just another subcomponent of mathematical logic, along with set theory, model theory, recursion theory, and proof theory, then Dr. Tarski, you are also a psychoanalyst too, and Lacan is your new best friend, because, hey, Lacan is just a fucking dilettante set theorist, just the same way that Freud was like a dilettante, whatever the fuck he was. A dilettante quack? I mean, that's a hard career, to be a dilettante quack. I mean, I don't know what's harder, being a dilettante quack or a pro quack. Dr. Bass, Worth, Baldwin. Maybe, Worth, Jan may have confided in you about all sorts of things, with you as the executor of his estate and all. He probably confided in you, right? About all his quackery and charlatanism and stuff and all his guilt. How often did he go to confession? No, Jan didn't go to confession. So whose shoulder could he cry on? Oh. But Worth, what was that someone close to you was telling me about how Jan would knock back a couple of highballs and then stick his tongue in a woman's ear? One of the students Worth, one of the students, and then take her money? Okay, so Jan's metaphysics was what? If you can't put it in front of you, it does not exist. What does that mean? This exists. Why? It is a physical, concrete object. Many times, Jan was wont to say, if you cannot put it in front of yourself, it does not exist physically. He was talking about the mind, of course. This is a kind of Zen strategy, or Taoist something. It's kind of Bodhidharma, you know, real, like in your face. The mind does not exist. If you're looking for Buddha mind, you won't find it because there is only one mind. So whatever that one mind is, you guessed it, piece of cake, right? So you are already enlightened from the perspective of a Zen practice. You are already enlightened, Worth. Now, what is the flaw in this argument? Well, it's just a straightforward materialist argument, right? So if all we're left with, so back up. Okay. So what is this an attack on explicitly? Not implicitly, explicitly. If you give your materialist critique and you say with G.E. Moore, put it in front of me. Here's my hand. G.E. Moore. Common sense. Here's my hand. I don't need any more epistemology. Thank you very much. How many hands? 2. What's that? What's 2? Oh, you know, 2. Can you show it to me? 1, 2. No, not physically. Don't put it, I mean, because is it the same in Australia? Can you show me 2 in Australia right now? No. Can you? Okay, so since we're for the time being entertaining the idea that Plato is not allowed, not Play-Doh, like Play-DOH, but Platon. To Platon. Or Platon. Is it Platona? Platono? That's a plantain, isn't it? Platano and Platon. The Platon. What the hell do we need with numbers anyway? Dear Kant? Except, what is this? This is, what does it say? This is Aura T09. Aura T09. Sakura grape. It's already words, and it's a physical object. But now all that, once I brought this in, that's all on the court transcript, right? Or on this recording, right? So we can actually transcribe and see, look at the sentences, right? Sentences? What are those? Oh, well, they just roughly correspond to the noise that's coming out of your mouth right now. How? I mean, the sentence I see some ink on that paper. So there's some ink scribbled on that paper, and you're telling me that corresponds to something in my mind. Okay. The point is, you can criticize the Platonist view by saying, well, this is a physical object in front of me, so the rest you can take your dreams and your naivete and go back to your philosophy classroom. That's the commonsensical view. But what's the basis of the critique? A sentence. What is a sentence? Ink on paper? I mean, I'll give you ink on paper right now. I've got a pen here somewhere. I mean, I don't mean this blasphemy, but Dr. Salmon. So what is that? That's ink on paper, right? How come that's not the thing that we're talking about right now? We're talking about sentences, not that. Oh yeah, well, sentences, they refer to, sentences themselves signify. What do they signify? And this is where Frege becomes a Platonist. No way around it. For Frege. No way around it. Maybe there is. Dr. Higginbotham, I bet you already know the way. I bet your dad has already explained to you you probably know a couple of dozen tricks. Sidestepping the classical problem. But now look. Consider the division between, you've got conceptual content, right? Frege starts with that first. Now, conceptual content, it doesn't imply judgment, because there are ideas in the imagination, say. I can have an idea of the present king of France with Bertrand Russell. The present king of France is bald. Okay, there is no present king of France, so whatever you've got in your mind is a mere image. So that's the so-called content stroke. Then you have the so-called judgment stroke, which gets us from the free variable to the bound variable. So if the present king of France in 2025 if the present king of France in 2025 is a mere concept, in other words, I can put the idea together, the mental image, without it corresponding to anything in reality. I mean, this is all Meinongian stuff, right? Golden Mountain and stuff. So the free variable is associated with conceptual content without judgment. Then you have to get the judgment in there somewhere. That's psychoanalysis. How does the judgment emerge from its own rational basis or foundation? The third part is the assertoric force. Now, assertoric force and binding, in other words, 2 and 3, They're very closely related, because how are you going to get variable binding without acertoric force? So in other words, Jan, was your entire materialist enterprise merely and literally scribbles, like your drawings, scribbles on your simple drawings, Jan, which I love, scribbles on paper plus what? Acertoric force. In other words, because I said so, discipline and punish, right? You get some ink on paper, and then you supplement it with your own acertoric force, and then you can dispense with what? Concepts and judgments. But that's just coercion. Quod erat demonstrandum.